com. This morning we have a betting mogul, betting handicapper, who has one of the most respected names in the industry. Matter of fact, he's been doing this for a long time, in 28 years. Good morning. How are you, Harry?
I'm great, Rudy. Great to be with you today.
Thank you very much. This is Harry Bondi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Rude Dog Show. Thank you so much for taking your time out this morning. Let's get right into this. I'm aware that you don't specifically assist bettors with just betting on one specific team. You know, the NFL is a huge dynamic. However, speaking of the Steelers specifically, based on your experience, have you received any statistical information as to the state of what the Steelers are in the betting world, and are they close to being one of those teams being bet on to win it all this season?
I don't know about to win it all, Rude Dog, but they've always got a great following at the ticket windows in Las Vegas. I mean, the Steeler Nation in the whole Pittsburgh area and Pennsylvania is a obviously great football country, and they follow their teams both with their eyes and with their wallets. Steelers are always one of the most heavily bet teams each Sunday in the NFL card, so I don't think that there's a lot of people that think that the Steelers can win it all this year, but there's always a lot of people that are on the Steelers each and every Sunday.
Right. You know, I happen to agree with you. Everybody can say, well, the Steelers travel well. No, they're not traveling well. They're already there. Yeah, they're one of the most widest spread fan bases in all of the 32 teams in the NFL. Do you think they're the sentimental favorite, however?
Well, like I said, they are. There's a lot of people always pulling for them. They've got a great following, as you mentioned. Sentimentally, I think possibly, but the AFC North is an incredibly tough division, and if you get out of that, you still have to get by Denver and New England. So I think for them to win the AFC this year is a lot to ask, given some of the holes that are already shown in their first two games.
Right, and actually, speaking of which, you've been doing this a very long time, and of course the Steelers have not had a playoff run in the last two seasons, and they're not used to not making the postseason. And the Steelers find themselves early being 1-1, one against Cleveland, which is divisional foe, as well as Baltimore losing that game, also a divisional foe. What are the odds of the Steelers being able to beat Carolina next Sunday?
Wow. I think it's going to be a very, very tough game for them, given the way their defense has played these last 6 quarters. I mean, they come out and the offense looks fantastic. The first half against Cleveland, and then kind of went to sleep in that game, and the Cleveland offense really was able to move the ball effectively versus Pittsburgh. And then a Baltimore offense, which in their first week against Kansas City did nothing, was able to really move the ball almost at will against Pittsburgh in their game last Thursday night. So I think it's a lot to ask for them in that particular situation. Big Sunday night game next Sunday at Carolina. I mean, Carolina lost a lot offensively. Their best receivers are out, but defensively, I think they're still one of the strongest teams in the league, and it should be a really close game. And a week ahead of time, I'd make that line Carolina a 3-point favorite over Pittsburgh next Sunday night.
Right. You know, the odds of the Steelers being able to stop the run against any team in the NFL, and I mean, again, it's early in the season. There's no overall prediction saying the Steelers are going to go 8-8. But being able to look at both games, as you stated, against Cleveland, which clearly looked, you know, I call it the tale of the two Steelers. I mean, you have one Steeler team in first half of the game against Cleveland that looked fantastic, was able to do anything against that Cleveland defense, and then turn around, as you stated, they fell asleep, and they did more so against that no huddle that Pittsburgh was running on Cleveland. Now the shoe's on the other foot. Being able to stop the run seems to be the issue overall when you're having that discussion throughout the NFL. I mean, you could turn on any various stations, and that dynamic does exist. Can they stop the run? So, speaking of which, I mean, they had various, third and goals. They had goal line stances. They seemed to leave a lot of points on the board, over 36, and then overall 50 in 2 games. A lot of adjustments need to be made defensively. What adjustments do you believe will assist them as they progress this season?
Well, I think defensively, as you mentioned, they have to stop the run and force these teams to throw the ball against themselves. And I think that they can do that with more of a blitzing package. And I think that they can also, on the offensive side of the ball, their offensive line is just not giving Roethlisberger a lot of time. They need to make upgrades there. That was a major question mark coming into the season, and I think so far it's really been a red flag for him on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they just need to bring more pressure and really stop that running game and force these teams to try to beat him with the pass.
Right. I definitely agree with you. Marcus Gilbert was flagged twice for holding. And clearly there was one situation where Ben didn't quite make the best decision in the world. He had Heath Miller open to the right. It was a very tight window, but again, if you don't have that personnel doing the right things off the line offensively, being able to give Ben Roethlisberger more time to not only get out of the pocket and or make a fast decision, you're in for a very long game, and Ben Roethlisberger has been sacked probably the most in the league since he was drafted out of Miami of Ohio, along with Eli Manning, which still Eli's been kept upright more so. So with that being said, how do you think the Steelers overall, based on what we just discussed, taking command of the AFC North, not the division that we knew back in the Central days of the AFC, but as the AFC North shapes up and develops? I mean, the Ravens are 6-4 since 2010. What do you think the Steelers will need to do to win this AFC North title?
Well, they definitely need to shore it up on both sides of the ball, as you mentioned. I mean, Roethlisberger really, in these first 2 games this year, I mean, one of his strengths has always been the ability to just move enough in the pocket to not get sacked, even though he has been sacked more than anybody else. But he looked slower this year in those, especially Thursday night against Baltimore. I mean, he just didn't have time and wasn't able to get away from the pressure. So they really need to shore up that offensive line. To me, that's their major issue on the offensive side of the ball. And defensively, they have to stop the run. They can't let teams gash them like they have so far this season. You mentioned it. I mean, it used to be Pittsburgh's division, and then it was always a rock fight between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Well, now Cincinnati looks like they finally are a solid club, not just a one-year wonder. And Cleveland, as they showed in the second half against the Steelers, can surprise some people. But I clearly think it's a 3-way race, and I think that the Steelers will be in there with Baltimore and Cincinnati. But they have to start winning right away because they can't let the division get away from them.
Right. You know, now Baltimore 1-1 divisionally, Steelers 1-1 divisionally. Cincinnati plays an Atlanta Falcon team, which seems to have a lot of things figured out during the offseason that's enabling them to climb within their division to make a run to actually win it. They still have to battle out the Saints. However, I definitely agree with you. The Steelers need to make the adjustments, and they need to make them fast, and not only fast, but they need to make it last for a long term. I believe exotic blitz packages, as you well stated, needs to be one of those things that they have to get done. Ryan Shazier had a poor tackling attempt on I think it was Daniels or Pitta. And he clearly went above the shoulders to try to bring him down, and you can't do that. That is not textbook. Textbook is grabbing on the body below the waist in order to stop the feet from going, because it's like a monkey on your back. You can still run with a monkey on it. So I believe the Steelers will have to make those long-term decisions. And with McClendon having a slight shoulder sprain on the defensive line, shoring up that nose tackle position, McCullers is going to have to step in unless the Steelers staff doesn't deem that to be a season-ending injury, which most of the time it's not if it's a slight sprain. So based on their off season, I had a chance to be on the Steelers sideline in Latrobe on that St. Vincent campus. And based on what I seen, they were able to stop the run. That's why this makes absolutely no sense to me as to why they cannot. But during the off season, you had people like Warren Sapp, who said that they were too old, they were too slow, they couldn't move, they needed to get younger, and they did. I believe that they addressed all those necessary off-season acquisitions very carefully. I still question the Mike Mitchell free agency grab. He's very physical, but he gets burned. Do you believe the Steelers as an organization had addressed their needs in this past year's draft?
Well, I was with you. I thought that they were in shape and certainly addressing those things in the off season. But I guess there's a big difference between preseason and training camp in these games because it hasn't translated on the field yet. Obviously, still a long way to go, and hope that it does for all Steeler fans out there. But so far, it looks like the moves that they made have not paid off on the field, which is always the bottom line.
Right, exactly. And the bottom line is that Cortez Allen had some costly defensive penalties. Pass interference, he missed a would-be, wide receiver to not only get involved in taking the ball away from him, but decided to cause another pass interference penalty. And the Steelers just re-signed him for a contract extension. Next year, this is a huge calling for the Steelers secondary. Based on their needs, obviously the season is still early, so there's really no way to tell that that's the direction that they're going to go. However, this year fans wanted a cornerback to be drafted. Darqueze Dennard were one of those people that the Steelers were really looking for to be drafted. Instead, Steelers shocked the entire Steeler nation by drafting Ryan Shazier out of Ohio State. Ike Taylor's last season this season. There's no contract up. He was just assigned to a one-year extension. What do you believe, based on what you've looked at in these last two games, that the Steelers will need to shore up in the next season's draft?
Well, I think the offensive line has some issues, and I think that's some places they have to look at on that side of the ball. Defensively, I think that the secondary as a whole needs to be addressed. I mean, they're not getting any younger. Obviously, Palomalu still looks good, but he's nowhere near what he used to be. I just think the defensive backfield really needs to be addressed in the upcoming draft for the Steelers.
Right. I agree. You can mix and match and move people around. I have yet to see Will Allen play, to be quite honest with you. I really believe Will Allen should take Cortez's spot there. Move Mike Mitchell over to free safety, and then, I know it's probably a reach, but stick Troy Polamalu on the opposite side, on the outs, because, again, he's a very knowledgeable, safety, probably one of the best free safeties still in this game, but you're right, not what he used to be. And, of course, we all get older, so we're not as slow, we're not as fast and nimble and quick to the ball as we need to. However, I've really seen him make some moves during that game in Baltimore. But I believe his particular position is designed to do too much, and so he's doing too much. So I have to agree with you there, where they need to move towards younger DBs, definitely get some corners, and address that secondary in this upcoming draft. Harry, I want to thank you so much for taking your time out this morning to not only speak with me. Could you tell the listeners how they may learn more about you, via social media, contact information, or website?
Rude Dog, it's been great to be with you, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. People can go to my website, harrybondi.com, and I'll spell it for you. It's HARRYBONDI.com to learn more about my services and how I can help. You can also get 3 free issues of my Bondi Bulletin football newsletter. Off of that website, there's a tab to click on to receive the next 3 free issues. You can also follow me on Twitter, or call me directly at 1-877-332-0077.
Well, thank you very much, Harry. I'm sure you have those listeners out there that really want to contact you, and we'll be in touch, I am sure. So that being said, thank you again, and have a great football Sunday.
Go Steelers.
Yes, sir. Go Steelers. This has been Rude Dog Reyes on therudedogshow.com. Don't forget to bookmark me, and I'm on Facebook. Tweet me at Rude Dog Reyes. Thank you very much for listening, and go Steelers.